A newlywed farmer and his wife were visited by her mother, who immediately demanded an inspection of the place. While they were walking through the barn, the farmer's mule suddenly reared up and kicked the mother-in-law, unfortunately killing her instantly. My mother-in-law was staying with us for Christmas last afternoon. She put on her coat and grabbed the car keys from the wife. Asked, "Where are you going?" She replied, "Heading to the cemetery." I said, "Great, but who's going to bring the car back?" Why do so many jokes from the 50s and 60s get posted here? Nice. Can guaranteed income save the world? I'm Neil Howard and I research universal basic income UBI. Ask me anything. What is your opinion on negative income tax versus UBI? They both seem to offer similar benefits, but NIT is less expensive to implement. NIT does require some slightly more complex administration, but biasing the means testing for false positives would draw it closer to UBI while still helping the people it needs to, without the broad costs involved with a flat UBI. Have you ever heard of reverse exorcism? So you watch Yeah Mad too. Gotta give some credit at least. I thought reverse exorcism was similar to not paying your exorcist bill. You get repossessed. Repossessed? That was awesome. But it's not a dad joke. Our uncle jokes. Based devil. Too much. Knife. LMFAO. Smiley face. That's funny. So this is where Yeah Madcast get their jokes from, which then gets reposted here again. Our dark jokes. Our uncle jokes. Curse sonification of the cursed. Welcome to Walmart. I thought my wife was joking when she said she wanted to go to a Monkees tribute concert in Switzerland. Then I saw her face. Hee, I like this one. Is there a word play I'm missing? Why are women legally obliged to cook for their husbands? Because by the Geneva Convention, all prisoners need to be fed and maintained in dignified conditions. What on earth are you talking about? Now I MMA believe her. Not a trace of fondue on your chin. I don't get it. Did you catch the last train to Geneva? You fool. She wanted to go there to meet her lover. You caught the last train to Cooksville. At least she didn't want to go see that awful Canadian excuse for a she would be a believer. I wanted to go to a Monkees tribute concert too, but I turned up for the wrong event. I went in anyway. You should have seen my face, but now I'm a believer. Love these type of jokes. Excellent joke. If you drive while stoned, put your foot on the accelerator and get out of there. Stones hurt. You're a rolling stoner. Not if you drive stick. Stoned Jedis are the strongest, cause they always have the high ground. It's my way or the highway. Just be careful or you might end up meeting the Grim Reaper. Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Careful for them potholes. I mean, life is a highway. And I'm gonna ride it, all night long. High roller. Perhaps you drive the cannabis. Drugs are the road to nowhere. But at least I'm taking the scenic route. Yes. Interstate 420. You're going to jail is where you're going. Nope, you're just a big dumb if you drive. Do not drive under the influence. It's not a joking matter, it has real consequences. Definitely the 420 highway. Drive faster. Yeah, practically, because then you might to get a brand new one. Most animals have never burned the inside of their mouth. People dogging on you, but this is the most shower thought I've seen in a while. Indeed, a worthy entry into this subreddit. I just started imagining a wolf building a fire and roasting a rabbit and accidentally making it too hot and being like, damn. One of my cats loves to lick lit candles. He's burnt the inside of his mouth enough to skew the statistics, but with your donation of just $4 per month, we can change that. Together, gave my poor dog some eggs that were too hot once. She was not happy but scarfed them before I realized. I know a couple of cats that did today. But that's what they get for stealing my pizza. I wonder where Japanese word comes from. It is like cat's tongue and means aversion to hot foods. My dog stole a Hot Pocket off a plate right after it came out of the microwave. Ate the whole thing in 20 seconds and then ate slowly for a week due to what I assumed were blisters in his mouth. One of the biggest problems with good people is they don't understand how evil bad people can be. I see it all is how people are taken in by scams that look obvious to won't hear about thieves cleaning up the house on their way out. Good people don't think like criminals. Criminals do not care. Recently, I was at a work retreat and expressed my concerns at the lack of security. Dorms, cafeteria, main hall were accessible without key cards at all hours. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's cool, we're up in the mountains, it's safe." I was like, are y'all new? Good people have ethical limits. Bad people have no limits, so, in a perverse way, bad people have more freedom. Not only how bad, but how pointlessly, illogically bad they can. cruelty for cruelty's sake rather than a means to an end. A bigger problem is when good people don't realize they're being evil. Till California has a higher GDP than all of Africa combined. If California were a country, it would have the 5th largest economy in the world. Why doesn't California just buy Africa? Are they stupid? California has almost the same GDP as France, and Cali does it with millions of less people. New York has a higher GDP than all of Russia. Also has higher GDP and population than Canada. You will be even more surprised when Earth have more GDP than majority of the planets in the universe. But does it have someone blessing the rain down? I think not. This is a real you so much. I think Silicon Valley has a little bit to do with that. And yet to everyone who doesn't live here, we're all homeless in downtown SF. Africans gotta work harder. Duh. And higher than Canada as well. Now this is a real till that there is a small island in the South Pacific, where villagers worship a mythical American World War II veteran named John Frum, believing that he will bring them material wealth one day. Really interesting concept in anthropology. But the term has also been applied to business cargo cult programming and cargo cult project management. Pretty hilarious how well the term fits in those situations too. This is what happens when you violate the Prime Directive. It's really fascinating, and I totally understand how some of them believe that American military men were gods back in the 1940s. They were living on very remote Pacific islands for centuries. I mean, they had never seen that kind of technology, and all of a sudden military planes and ships are descending upon them and showing them all these new amazing things, and they can't fathom that a human being could have all this. After all, the gods must be crazy. Till a death row inmate in Tennessee discovered there were untested fingerprints that had been found at the original crime scene. In a last-ditch effort to prove his innocence, he successfully petitioned the courts to run the tests. They were found to be his own fingerprints, with 50% certainty to boot. I love how objective forensic sciences aren't. Mission failed successfully. Guy was in high school in the 80s with killed a woman and later wasted the innocent project's time and money doing a DNA test. It came back as his. He got out a few years ago. I don't know how I feel about the death penalty, man. As a progressive, I understand being opposed to it, but I think in the face of spending my life rotting in a cell, being put to death would be a mercy. I mean, I know it doesn't work that way. Huge amounts of taxpayer money gets funded into keeping them alive for decades rather than just deleting them upon verdict. But conceptually. Till about Francis Kelsey of the FDA, who single-handedly saved the health and lives of countless babies by blocking the approval of thalidomide, a drug that caused thousands of birth defects in 46 countries. Did have the main part, however. She also had the support of her supervisors and colleagues at the FDA, who backed her decision and defended her from the pressure of the drug BTW. The estimated affected babies worldwide were close to 10,000. The number of cases in the US was very low, 1740. Thanks to her vigilance. She is an excellent example of vigilance in the regulation and approval of pharma products. She certainly impacted many lives in a positive way. Excellent documentary about the thalidomide babies called Attacking the Devil, Harold Evans and the Last Nazi War Crime. Ironically, there are uses for that drug, as long as it isn't taken during pregnancy. Till before 1804, the office of the U.S. Vice President was awarded to runner-up to the presidential race. Goodness! Imagine Trump with Hillary as VP and Biden with Trump as VP. More fun than a barrel of monkeys. I think they should go back to that. Ya only took him a few times before they realized that it wasn't gonna work out the way they planned. Jefferson on Burr, you hear this guy? Man open the campaigns against me, talking about I look forward to our partnership. Madison, it is crazy that the guy who comes in second gets to be vice president. Jefferson, ooh, you know what, we can change that. You know why? Madison, why? Jefferson, cause I'm the president. I've often said that if they went back to this system, it would encourage more moderate candidates and bipartisan cooperation. Unfortunately, the problems with modern politics would make it a horrible idea in the short term. Till that in 2011 a resident of Atherton, California called police to report a strange light in the sky. Police were able to determine that the strange light was the moon. Reading the Atherton police blotter was the highlight of my lunch break in the early 2000s. That's where all of the wealthy older people lived, and they were all super favorite was the resident who called the police to have them come check a person claiming to be a Comcast representative and asking to be let in. He was wearing a Comcast uniform, driving a Comcast van, and the resident had made an appointment for Comcast to come to their house that day. My favorite was in the late 90s. Someone reported a baby in the dumpster behind the Mountain View Walmart. On further inspection, it was a large burrito. I worked at a law firm in Palo Alto, and one of our attorneys would come and read the police blotter to us. Best part of the day. Still that the son of a soldier who was killed by the Viet Cong guerrilla shot in the infamous 1968 Saigon execution photo went on to become a rear admiral in the U.S. Navy. Win Ngoc Loan later went on to own a pizza parlor in Northern Virginia. The guy being executed in the famous photo was one of the guys that murdered this dude's dad. In case anyone else was slowed down by that title, people forget that the South Vietnamese were brutalized by the VC. The US involvement over there was shitty, but all those Vietnamese who were able to come to the US and have a better life should not be forgotten. Till the Chernobyl power plant continued operating and producing power for 14 years after the infamous disaster, only fully shutting down in the year 2000. Never quite figured out the logistics. If you need to build a sarcophagus at a distance and roll it over, that suggests working in the next building was rather high risk. To be fair, the power button was left in the on position. When the unlucky reactor blew up, there were further 2 reactors being built, with the intent to have 6 units working by. That didn't happen. When you really hate going into work. Till there are only 3 flights operating weekly to and from Tuvalu in the South Pacific. When not in use, the Funafuti Airport airstrip turns into a common area for sports and social activities. A siren blares when it is time for residents to clear the runway due to an approaching flight. Tuvalu recently made a deal with the Australian government make no Belt and Road deals with China, and Australia will take in the entirety of the Tuvalu population if they are affected by climate change and rising sea levels. Kinda like when a car comes when you're playing street hockey. Sounds like a Wes Anderson movie. I flew the native villages in Alaska and you'd see the kids playing baseball on the strips. When I would come into the traffic pattern they would all pick up the bases and scatter as soon as I landed. The game was back on. What are some bedroom tricks that actually work well? If you stay really still and cover your head up, the boogeyman can't see you. I love how some of the tips are like move your alarm clock while others are like buy a cock ring to blast her booty cheeks. Put your phone out of arm's reach so that when your alarm goes off you have to get out of bed to turn it off. I don't know, but that pillow under my butt works like magic every time. I use it purely for the angle though. Short, well manicured nails. Jagged nails are gonna cause some serious problems and take her out of the moment, or much worse. Ollie. You'd be surprised how little space you actually need to do one. Easier if you have carpets too. Keep your hands nails clean. If she says that she's about to come, it means that what you're doing is working, not that you have to speed it up. You'd be surprised how well listening works. 2 comforters instead of trying to share one. Saved my marriage. What do you call a child born in a whorehouse? A Kardashian? What is the difference between boogers and Brussels sprouts? Little kids will eat boogers. Workplace accident. Just ask Hop's mom. Byproduct. Richard Pryor. Ichiban. Everyone's taken a shot at it. Poor Pan. No. Gold digger. Donald Draper. Brother or sister? Logistical. X200B. Oops, my dyslexia. Read that as warehouse. A night off? Who? Sibling. Well, my name's Dylan. What is something that will be illegal in 100 years? Using a public toilet without accepting the terms and conditions of the bathroom's privacy policy. Anonymity. Everyone will be tracked and monitored. Untraceable and/or cash transactions. Probably a lot sooner than 100 years to the way things are going. Bullfighting. Hopefully. Making unsolicited sales calls of any kind. Single-use plastic. Canadian hockey will be outlawed after the Canada Wars. After Charles Barkley performs the chaos dunk, basketball will be outlawed. I feel like companies restricting users from self-repair. It's stupid that some of these car companies like Tesla make you go to authorized dealer. It ain't for safety, it's so they can charge you unbelievable for something so small. I am in collision and we have the knowledge to work on any car, electric or not. I think that things will be so different in 100 years that it will be impossible to predict. Reddit. What is the most disturbing thing you have heard witnessed from the people in the adult industry? I'm pretty sure I remember a post from a guy who worked in the editing part of porn and he said they have to edit out a lot of blood from semen. Joshua Broom said about 12 of his friends in the industry killed themselves. The producers decided to make best of clips for each of them. The guy that runs the local bikini baristas where I live casting couches every girl that applies. That guy is such a piece of shit. When I was in college there was a young woman living near the house I was renting who had done some low-budget porn movies. One day when the woman was taking a morning walk, an old woman who lived beside her house threw boiling water on her and screaming how she was corrupting the young woman was sent to hospital and the old woman was arrested. Surprisingly, there were many people in that neighborhood who supported what the old woman did. What is the scariest thing seen in the ocean that has a photographic proof? There's a surprising lack of links to photos in this thread about photographic proof. This elbow squid motherfucker has given me nightmares for a decade. This thread is not as exciting and cool as I thought it would be. I submit for your viewing pleasure, or horror. The gulper eel, phantom jellyfish I think are harmless, but they look terrifying and occupy a lot of space. Deepsteria enigmatica. Enjoy. Deepsteria. So basically, it's a multitude of squid. Magnapinna squids are something out of a nightmare. Vampire squid. O1esp jaltriku. What's the easiest way you've managed to get laid? Was at a club once, when a girl just came over to me and said wanted to have sex with me. Being a student and single, I said yes. I walked up to a girl at a nightclub and asked if she'd like to come home with me. 15 minutes later we were at mine jumping into bed. I winked at a girl from a table away at the college cafe, and not only did that end in a BJ in my car that night, we're married now and we both graduated. Turns out we had a lot in common. True story, I once managed to seduce a woman by writing a note including a semicolon. Told a girl I had bipolar, of course there was more to it, but according her, that's when she decided to. I was freshly dumped by my ex, was in a bar and met a girl who had a crush on me a couple years earlier. She just proclaimed I would still fuck you BTW, and we went to her house. Worst sex ever. Whenever I eat probiotic yogurt, I make sure to remind people. This joke aged like milk. Definitely cheesy. Signs of a Yakult member. Most people like them, but I'm antibiotic. This curdled my sense of humor. If there's probiotics, is there amateurbiotics? Looks like yo play hard. No way I'm laughing at this. I never feed my pigs yogurt because they are uncultured swine. Oh, I thought you were gonna say you're a man of many farts. Nice to find a good dad joke. Great job, I'll hate you now. Crappy joke. I'm always down to drop acidophilus. Yogurt, come check out this joke. Yeah, and shitty men are men of culture. Which brand names sound like they're in the adult industry but they're not? Thrustmaster, Dix, Kumgo, BJ's. It's a wholesale club. Scrub Daddy, Load King, a Canadian manufacturer of semi-drillers. Cummins, Duramex, and Powerstroke. Diesel trucks in general seem to try pretty hard at that sort of thing. Bengay, Johnson & Johnson, Lovesac, Playtex, X, Five Guys, Jiffy Lube, Bang, Luxottica. Sounds like a porn star name. But the only people they're fucking over are eyeglasses customers. They are ID community hub. They used to not have the hyphen in the name. Do you know how goddamn confused I was about Magnum ice cream? Hotmail. I felt really awkward in the early 00s telling people my email address in a professional setting. Spanx, Minute Maid, GoDaddy, Steak In and Out, Siemens, Microsoft, Little Debbie cream pies.